Hi everyone! In this video, I'm going to share with you my top tips for a better induction experience. Hi, my name's Jenny. I'm a certified holistic doula, childbirth educator, placenta specialist, VBAC specialist, and I'm here to help you follow your own compass in birth. Let's make birth better together. So my number one tip in this part of our series about inductions is that you can ask for more time. I know that sounds really overly simple, but time is such a valuable asset in birth. So you can always ask for more time. You can ask for more time to make a decision. You can ask for more time to wait to see how labor progresses. You can ask for more time for labor to start on its own. So, if you're choosing an induction and you're faced with this choice by your provider, and last time in series before this, in episode 1, we talked all about the process of induction, what happens, how it's a long process. So if you're faced with choosing an induction and you're not sure what you might want to do, you can ask for a tool called your Bishop score. So what is a Bishop score? A Bishop score is a mathematical formula that was developed. It's kind of funny actually now that I think about it. The idea that we can put our bodies on a clock and put it all to numbers. But it's a score that tells you how likely it is that your body is ready to go into labor on its own, and that an induction would lead to a vaginal birth. So in a Bishop score, what happens is, for example, if you go into one of your prenatal appointments and you're at 40 weeks or something, right? And your provider says, we could schedule an induction for next week, for example, or we could schedule an induction because of XYZ reason. So you can ask them if they can do a cervical exam that will check for certain items that score your Bishop score. So you can ask for cervical dilation. So that's how far dilated and open your cervix is. For example, a tightly closed cervix is less likely to lead to a successful induction of labor than a cervix that's maybe dilated to 3 or 4 centimeters to start the process. The second part to ask for is cervical effacement. So they give these numbers in percentages. So they might say you're 1 centimeter dilated and 50% effaced. So that means how thin your cervix is. So that means that it's been pulled back and thinned about 50%, for example. So the third category that you need to ask for is cervical consistency. Is it soft and squishy? Is it firm to the touch? And a thick, closed, tight cervix is less likely to lead to a successful induction of labor. Another part of the Bishop score that you need to ask for is cervical positioning. So if a cervix, for example, is posterior, that means that your body has not made some of the changes needed for labor to progress on its own right now. The fifth quality of the Bishop score, which is very important to know, is baby's station in the pelvis. So station refers to how far down your baby's head is into your pelvis. So station is measured -3 to +3. And if your baby, for example, is at -3 station, that means that your baby's head is not engaged into your pelvis for labor to start. So it's important to know because essentially if you have a tight, thick, closed cervix and your baby's at -3 station, it's not very likely that an induction is going to lead to a successful vaginal birth. When they do a Bishop score, you can actually go online and come up with a calculator for yourself. And each of the 5 qualities is given a score. And a score of 5 or above, a score of 8 or above means that it's likely that an induction of labor will lead to a vaginal birth. And it means that your body is also likely to be ready to go into labor. I recently had a client who, starting at around 39 weeks, their provider was asking them to schedule an induction. They did not want to be induced. They didn't have any medical reason to be induced, and they wanted to go into labor on their own. So their provider was saying things like, oh, well, we can, we'll schedule it for next week because our full calendar is booked, or you can come in right now tonight and have your baby tomorrow. So there's a lot of pressure around these 39-week inductions, and there's a lot of coercive language that can happen around them that you need to recognize. And that just shows that that induction is for provider convenience and not because you really need one for a medical reason, and you don't have to consent to that. So anyways, this client, she pushed it off and said, no, I don't want an induction, I'm gonna wait. She asked for her Bishop score at her next prenatal to help decide whether or not they would have an induction. And their Bishop score was super low. They were 1 centimeter dilated, 50% effaced, baby at -3 station. That's not a very favorable scenario for an induction of labor. So they waited. They waited for labor to start on its own, and they had a fully intervention-free birth just a couple days later at around 41 weeks. So I want you to know that you can always ask for more time to make this decision, and you can use the Bishop score as a tool to get information so you can make an informed choice in the process of being faced with an induction of labor. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for listening to part 2 of this series, and go ahead and listen to part 3 next time, where we're going to talk all about the induction experience, what you need to know, and how to have the best experience possible when you do have to choose an induction of labor. Go ahead and follow my YouTube channel, Mindful Mama Birth Services.